Shalom, everyone.
Shalom, shalom.
Again, Shavua Tov. And what I've done is titled this Comprehending Leviathan, Levi-Tanniyn, the Rod of Moses / Aaron. Comprehending Leviathan, Levi-Tanniyn, the Rod of Moses, Aaron. Right? And what we're doing is we're going to go into detail and get a greater understanding of the divine rod or the power of the magical brotherhood. We've been talking about the divine feminine and what we're going to do because Nasik, you know, we have to take a holistic look of this. We had
Got
talked about this balancing yesterday of the left and right hemispheres of the brain, correct?
right, right.
So what we want to do in real time is to balance that. See, all of this, as we strengthen one side, we strengthen the other. We're aware, each of us are aware, should be aware that there is this imbalance,
Right.
that there is this imbalance. And so what we want to do is to bring some balance to it just through the practice of learning. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And we had taken a look at the letter Ayin yesterday. And it again led us to understand that we have to develop both sides. So as we looked at and have been looking at and focusing on the divine feminine, and again, for a purpose. It is our job to raise up and to energize the sisterhood primarily because they are the primary element. So, what we're going to do today is syncretize these things and to once again focus on and bring the divine masculine into view. So again, this is Nasik dual brain development in action.
Okay.
So just as a quick review, we're going to put this in the prophetic context. And though Isaiah 30, 20, and 21, and though the Lord give you the bread of adversity and the water of affliction, yet shall not thy teachers be removed into a corner any more. But thine eyes shall see thy teachers, and thine ears shall hear a word behind thee, saying, This is the way, walk ye in it, when you turn to the right hand, and when ye turn to the left. So again, we're talking about this straight path that is, or this medial position that is right in between the uh, two hemispheres of the brain. This is very important symbolism because it is all through the scriptures, and especially when we talk about this straight path. All right, we're going to understand this with greater clarity. This is a huge allegorical piece, a huge metaphorical piece, a huge and central symbolic piece. This aspect of the straight path, all right, that we don't want to turn to the right or to the left. In other words, we don't want to be right brain dominant or left brain dominant. What we want to do is be mid or middle brain dominant.
Right.
We don't want to turn to the left hand or to the right. We want to take that straight path. And now see, it reminds me of what you read yesterday, that Abba was so preaching in this, talking about this path that was what? Only wide enough for one man
Right.
to travel,
Right.
or
Right.
one individual to travel. All right. So another scripture, again, bringing this into focus and using this as a segue, a review, and then a segue into what we want to talk about today. Reading from now Isaiah 42:14 to 16. I have long holden my peace. I have been still and refrained myself. Now will I cry like a travailing woman. I will destroy and devour at once. Now, see, this should put us into remembrance of the woman in Revelations, uh,
Absolutely. Right.
in the book of
Right.
Revelations, that is what? Travailing to give
And
birth
pain. Right.
to what? The male child.
Absolutely.
All
Right.
right. So we are on the feminine. We understand that the feminine has to be activated within the creative process first
Absolutely.
in
Right.
order to do what? Activate the male, give birth to the male child. Making sense to everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Now, Akamaria, in Isaiah 30 and verse 20, when it talks about the Lord giving us the bread of adversity and the water of affliction, tell us what time period that was and what that is specifically referring to in history, in our history.
That's the 400 years.
That's correct. I think your mic is out, Amari. You hadn't turned it on, but go ahead. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
correct.
yes. 400 years, the time of tribulation.
So now, see, we're
Yeah.
keeping it within that 400-year framework,
Right. Right.
and we're going to see that this all fits. The reason I'm doing that, and I want our minds, when we see these things, to automatically put the meaning of these symbols within a framework, within a historic framework, so that we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that we're talking about this in the prophetic framework that it belongs, in the proper prophetic framework that it belongs. And I will make waste mountains and hills and dry up all their herbs, and I will make the rivers islands and will dry up the pools. Now, this is talking about, again, the that some intense heat, now see, is going to come forward. And this is that sunlight, right, that is going to last 7 days when Eta Carinae goes supernova. And the moonlight is going to become more intense. The sunlight is going to become more intense. And if you're not melanated, it's going to be problematic to you. Are you all seeing this?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And I will bring the blind by a way that they knew not, and will lead them in paths that they have not known. Now we're still talking about this straight path now. I will make darkness light before them. Now we talked about that yesterday by activating what? Our spiritual powers that are in Ayin. All right? That I will make darkness like light before them, and crooked things straight. These things I will do unto them and not forsake them. So again, this is as we hear the Lord or the God of the Bible speak, we understand that this is our higher consciousness communicating with us. We all clear?
Clear.
Now in Matthew 3:3, these are the words attributed to Yeshua or Jesus. For this is he that was spoken of by the prophet Isaiah, saying, the voice of one crying where?
In the wilderness.
In the wilderness. This is symbolic now. Prepare ye the way of the Lord, make his path straight. Now, when it refers to the wilderness, it should come to our mind because we're familiar with the Exodus. And it shouldn't have took no 40 years for the children of Israel to what? Take that straight path from Egypt or Mitzrayim to where? To the promised land, right?
No, it shouldn't have.
But what did they do? Wandered around for 40 years on crooked paths, correct?
Hey,
So this is symbolism within symbolism, but when we understand the symbols, we can be clear on the context of the narrative and have clear understanding what this is talking about. So if we look at the diagram in the middle, Nasik, we see the serpents on either side doing what? Twisting or wandering paths. Does everyone see?
Yeah. Right, right.
But we see the rod. Y'all got to see it. We see the rod that budded going straight up to whom?
Yeah.
To God. So it says, ordinary humanity pursues the spiral path. The initiate goes the straight and narrow way that leads to God. Again, most people are left brain dominant. Those are ordinary people. Most ordinary people are right brain dominant. And so they take the wandering path to what? Divinity, to their higher selves. But it says the initiate or the adept takes what? The straight path. Or what, Nasik? Develops dual brain acuity.
Right, right, right.
Brain acuity. And when we look at the level 250, Akamara, if you have your power versus force,
I do.
level 250 is what? Neutrality.
Right.
And it's speaking of what? That midbrain path. So when you get it, Akamari, let me know.
Okay, I got 250. It's neutrality.
Okay, it's neutrality. And what does it say?
It says enabling, satisfactory, trust.
Oh, no. Read the actual, like we were reading from 350. Nasik, you cited it the other day.
Let me get mine.
All right.
152.
Nasik gave us the citing, Amari. I'm sorry, I wasn't clear.
Okay.
He gave us
Okay.
the citing where we read from 350, and I had included it in the notes, and we went over it the other day.
Okay, you want the 350, you said? That's what you want?
250, neutrality.
250. Okay, I got it. You got it, Amari?
No, I haven't got it yet.
I got it. I'll read it. Energy
Good.
level 250, neutrality. Energy becomes very positive as we get to the level we have termed neutral, because it epitomized by the release from the positionality that typifies lower levels. Below 250, consciousness tends to see dichotomous and take on rigid positions and impotent in a world that is complex and multifactional rather than black and white.
So it tends below that level. It says people tend to see things what? Either from the left brain in dichotomy.
Right,
And
right,
polarities, either from the left brain or the right brain.
right.
But at this
And
level, go ahead.
at those levels, it's very rigid.
Right.
Right. Then it says, taking such position creates polarization, which in turns create opposition and division. As in the material arts, a rigid position becomes a point of vulnerability.
Yeah, that's
Right.
the Achilles heel. That's the flaw. Now, see,
Right.
the point of
Right.
vulnerability is duality.
Right.
Continue.
That which does not bend is liable to break. Rising above barriers or opposition that dissipate one's energies. The neutral condition allows for flexibility and non-judgmental, realistic appraisal of problems. To be neutral means to be relatively unattached to outcomes.
Stop right
Not
there.
just right. To be neutral, to be
unattached.
relatively unattached to outcomes.
So now see, that means that you do not have an agenda.
Right.
That you are just what? Following the straight path. Wherever the path leads, that's where I'm going to go.
Right.
I'm neither left brain dominant, nor am I right brain dominant. I am unattached to those things. So when we look, we understand, first of all, again, that this way of initiation, the straight path, leads straight to the divinity. And it says that the way of initiation, there was no initiation prior to the end of Mars, half of the Earth period. The lesser mysteries embrace human evolution in Mercury, half of the Earth's period. So that is Mars and Mercury. That is it's symbolic of what? The two hemispheres of the brain. So it's this division. Now see, we're gonna get into this. It's
Eitai,
the
one
oh,
other
go ahead.
point. One other point there is very important. It said rising above barriers of opposition that dissipates one's energy. So when you're in these areas of dual brain, left and right, opposition, you're always dissipating your energies.
That's correct.
That is very important, you know.
Very much
That is very
so. Because our axiom is where attention goes, energy flows. So if you
right.
continually diverting your attention from right to left, first of all, you're not going to be able to see your teachers.
Right, right.
And secondly, you're going to be dissipating your energy, wasting your time and everyone else's. A double-minded man is what?
Is unstable in all of his ways.
Think not that such an individual will what? Get anything.
Yeah, right, right.
So this midbrain, or the neutral position, to be midbrain dominant is to be a genius, or what is referred to in the other diagram as a child prodigy. A child prodigy. So this is this middle path, all right? This is this middle path. So we covered that somewhat last class, and now we're going to dovetail into this class. So we talked about this feminine energy. And we looked at Genesis 31, 32 to 35. And to put it in context, this was when Jacob had finally served for Raquel 7 years, and then served, which he ended up serving for the older sister, then served the other 7 years, and he was ready to go.
Yeah, right.
And so he left, and when Laban found out, he went out to pursue Jacob. And you remember we read the story in context where the Lord spoke to Laban and said, hey, don't say anything good or evil to Jacob.
Right.
So when he found him, he confronted him about what he called his household gods. And we understand that this is referring to the feminine aspect, or the feminine sacred feminine, or the divine feminine, okay? And within the allegorical narrative, which we're going to read now, we're going to understand perfectly what this is talking about. Now, see, you talked about the brilliance of this plan, and though David and I were talking about this prior to the call as well, about the brilliance of this plan. And even the narrative, the allegorical narrative, is brilliant because it does not, what they're talking about, it doesn't leave a shadow of a doubt what they're talking about when it's talking about these household gods or images. So when Laban confronts Jacob, he says, hey, look, go ahead and search all you want. And he says, with whomsoever thou findest thy gods, let them not live. In other words, kill them.
Right, right.
Before our brethren, discern thou what is thine with me. And he says, in front of all your people, you're going to find out what I have that is yours. And then take it to thee. For Jacob knew not that Rachel had stolen them. And Laban went into Jacob's tent, into Leah's tent, and into the two maidservants' tent, but he found them not. Now, we understand that Leah, again, as well as Esau, represent what?
A recessive.
The recessive traits as it relates to melanin, and Jacob and Rachel and their offspring represent what? The dominant trait. This is very important as it relates to melanin and reproduction, genetics. Then he went out of Leah's tent and entered into Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the images and had put them in the camel's furniture and what?
Sit on them.
Sat upon them.
Mhm.
And Laban searched all the tent, but found them not. And she said to her father, let it not displease my lord, that I cannot rise up before thee, for the custom of women is upon me. And he searched, but found not the images. So she was sitting on the images. She was sitting on the gods. She was sitting on the divine feminine. And every sister sits upon the divine feminine. All right? And that is what? The yoni. Now we look, Nasik, at Erica Badu.
This is too much.
Now, Erica Badu is, of course, an entertainer, a singer, and a musician, but she is also a doula. She is also a divine midwife. And you see her here making the sign of the inverted delta above her gods, above the
Wow.
sacred feminine.
Wow. Wow.
In the middle, we see this figure that is done with the hands, and you see a bright light, energetic
Yeah.
source that is in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is the divine feminine. Now, you remember the midwives played a very important role in the story of Moses. We're going to get to this. We're going to connect it up. When the Pharaoh saw that this dominant gene was so productive and prolific, what did they say? That, hey, they're going to reproduce and outnumber us, and
That's what. Right.
we gotta do something about it. So now we recall what our divine sister, Dr. Frances Cress Wilson, told us, that this, what underlies this whole thing, is the fear of genetic annihilation on the part of racist and white supremacists. You all with me?
Yeah.
So this was the same fear that was represented in the book, in the Bible, when it talked about what happened prior to the birth of Moses, correct?
Yeah.
So the plan was to kill the male children, right?
Right.
So the woman travailed, they were travailing, right, to birth the male child. But the dragon was there, what? To devour him. Same
Divine.
thing,
Right.
Nasik, right?
Same thing.
Same
Same
thing.
thing.
So it was the midwives, the divine sacred feminine, that said, no, we're not going to do this. And they preserved the male children. That is the primary function of the divine feminine. It is protective. It is surrounding. That is that rib, Nasik.
Wow. This is Eitai, this is you talking about brilliance now. This is really something.
This,
I mean, this, when you start to understand this in its fullness, this is really brilliant. I mean,
it is, Nasik.
no, it's no way. I'm crystal clear now that it is no way that the European could have done this.
Absolutely
By
not.
absolutely no way.
Now, see, this is why I give him 0 credit.
I mean, absolutely no way. This is brilliant here. I'm telling you,
Correct.
this is brilliant. Hmm.
But the midwives, the word for midwives is yalada. We get the word yelid for yelidim. They are responsible. They reign over offspring. Y'all got to hear me. They reign over offspring and creation. In other words, Nasik, they sit upon the gods of creation.
Wow. Wow.
They
This
are
is
they
wow.
are the gatekeepers. They are
Wow.
the gatekeepers.
They truly the gatekeepers.
Uh-huh. So again, we're gonna get to the brothers now because this is all related. This is all intrinsically related. They sit, Nasik, upon what's called the dual rings. The dual rings, or the pearly gates. That is what? The entrance to heavens or Shemayim. Shemayim
Wow.
is, Shemayim is literally the fiery waters. It is
Yeah.
the ionized or electrified waters
Yeah.
of creation.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the most general sense, this is correct. The dual rings are a vertical cross section of the double torus, producing the Coriolis effect, a geometry found in the formation of what? Galaxies and our own solar system. Sisters, that's what you are, that's what you sit over. That's what you
Wow.
rule over. Life too is toroidal. Here we go, Do David Akalaya. Life too is toroidal like a hurricane or though a whirlwind, twisting around an axis, as seen in the swirl of hair at the crown of the head. When we are born, the birth canal is indeed a mandorla. The divine door rings the pearly gates of the divine black mother. And again, these are the symbolic representations of it. All right, moving forward. So we frame this now see, into with the midwives to the birth of Moses.
Eitai, say that again. I didn't hear you.
All right. We've so far framed this within the prophetic framework or the scriptural framework of the birth of Moses. All right. So we're going to talk about now. First, we
Yeah.
talked about the pearly gates. Now we're going to talk about the rod of the brotherhood. Everybody with me? Or the rod of Moses, the rod of Aaron. Everybody with me?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let me back up a little bit before I finish with the sisterhood and move on. including the pineal gland, the Brotherhood has 3 eyes, but one is hidden. The Sisterhood has 4 eyes. All right? The 2 eyes for optical vision, the pineal gland, which is the 3rd eye, and the yoni, which is the 4th eye, that apparent. The brothers have 3, but one is not so apparent. But when we talk about the rod of Aaron, it's going to be apparent. Again, the Sisterhood, the 2 eyes, all right? Then the 3rd eye, the pineal gland, when it is activated. Then the 4th eye, because once we turn this to the side, looks like an eye, doesn't it? Everybody with me? So now, moving on to the Brotherhood. And we're going to get into the class. Comprehending Leviathan, Levi-Tanniyn, the rod of Moses, Aaron, the divine rod, power of the magical brotherhood. I should put of the mystical magical brotherhood. The word Nachash means to hiss, that is, whisper a magic spell. Generally, to prognosticate, prognosticate just means to prophecy. To divine, to be an enchanter. Also, to learn by experience and to diligently observe. To practice divination, divine, observe what? Signs, symbols. To learn by experience, to practice fortune telling, or again, prophesy. Thus, rational knowledge tends to be fragmented. Intuitive knowledge, and that is the word, that's what Nasik connected us to with the word divine. Divine. So when we speak of divine and divinity, we're talking about not about rational knowledge, but about intuitive knowledge. Is based on what? A direct, non-intellectual, that is spiritual or energetic experience. So this is what it means to learn by experience in the word nakash, and diligently observe. So intuitive knowledge is based on a direct, non-intellectual, spiritual, that is energetic experience of reality arising in an expanded state of awareness. So this is what these classes, these sessions are designed to do, to expand your awareness. It tends to be synthesizing, syncretizing, holistic, and non-linear, meaning enfolded. So we want to keep that in mind as we go forward. The root word for snake when they say snake, it actually should be serpent. All right. And I'm going to change that. Serpent, nakash, means to guess. That is, be a prognosticator, a diviner, a seer, a prophet, etc. This is a forbidden practice according to Torah, and that it is a form of witchcraft. Guessing is a distortion of the mind, as explained above with regard to the venom of the snake that goes directly to the mind. Now, again, this is exerted, Nasik, from Caucasians. So
Absolutely.
of course, they're going to outlaw this and say that this is taboo. But let's go forward. The holy snake, now they talking about the holy snake, or the holy guesser is the possessor of the Holy Spirit to ever what? Intuit truth. And so says Joseph, son of Nun, the righteous or upright one of himself, for a man as myself shall surely guess correctly. As explained above, not the snake image, let's say the serpent image returns to that of the wolf insofar as both manifest sexual impulse. And we talked about that you call a brother a wolf, all right? It's talking about someone that is what? Pursuing women for sex, right? And
Yeah.
a wolf usually calls a female that he's attracted to a fox,
Right.
right? So this
Right.
canine or wolf image, Joseph, son of Nun, the righteous, epitomizes in the Torah the reactivation of the sexual drive. This is how they put it. We're talking about the male to female energy. That is the upright sheaf, Nasik, or the rod. Y'all with me?
Yeah.
He is the holy snake or serpent, and thus the holy guesser. So they frame this thing in this
We need,
mystical language.
we need to change that word holy there. And I'm
Yes,
gonna give a teaching on that so that everybody be clear on that. I'll make sure that I cover that
correct.
on, okay? So they'll
Correct.
understand exactly what they did to get that word holy.
That's correct.
All right, continue on.
So again, we're talking about, we're going to expound upon the power of the mystical magical brotherhood, which is that divine rod. So that everyone is clear, when we refer to the rod, you don't have to say it. We know what it is that we possess. Correct?
Okay.
So we're clear. The sister is sitting on the rod. In the same way, is sitting on the gods rather, in the same
Right.
way as the brother is in possession of the rod. They couldn't have made this any clearer.
Nah, you couldn't. I mean, that's awesome.
So
Wow.
it's talking about the reactivation of the male to female energy. So we understand that the sisters they're going to have to reactivate this. This is going to be funny because without the
Yeah.
reactivation, all we got is a rod.
Right. This here is really something. This is awesome here.
So you always see the male in the magician card that he for sure Nasik has his rod,
right.
but he don't have the sword.
Right.
Right.
But when you see the feminine represented, she has both the rod and the sword,
And the sword, right.
meaning
Wow.
that
What's
she's responsible for the activation of that sword. All right? That she is the primary activator of that.
now, Eitai, just for a moment, I heard you say it already, but it just hit me. I want to bring it out. You tied in before the two-edged sword, and the two-edged sword was in possession of the feminine, right?
That is the masculine and feminine. Yeah, and she possesses that, right?
Right, right,
Primarily.
right.
And she has to activate it in the brotherhood.
There
That's
you
why we requested that the sisterhood began what? To bless themselves, to bless their immediate family, and to bless everyone that is involved in this process. Because, David, this is going to produce this toroidal energy, all right, that is represented again by the dual rings or the yoni. The dual rings are vertical cross section of the double torus. So the sisters are in possession of this energetic quality, this energetic primal energy to produce a Coriolis effect, a geometry found in the formation of galaxies and our own star system. Life, too, existence, is toroidal like a hurricane, twisting around an axis. And again, this is represented by Nasik, the double-edged representation of the yin and the yang. What? Perpetually swirling around an axis. We clear?
right.
All right. So it is definitely referring to the birth canal or the yoni or the vagina. The vesica was referred to as the vesica pisces. All right. So
That's what you see.
the magician. Now we're talking about the brotherhood. Now we're getting into it. The magician is the archetype of the active masculine principle, the ultimate achiever. He symbolizes the power to what? Tap universal forces and use them for creative purposes.
And the symbols is
Note his stance in the picture. He acts as a lightning rod, one arm extended up into the divine for inspiration, the other pointing toward earth to ground his potent energy. His abilities appear magical at times because his will, I want to underscore that, helps him to achieve what seem to be miracles. I want everyone, if you have a pen and paper, to write down the word will and willpower. Will and willpower. What makes the magician so powerful? First, he is not afraid to act. He believes in himself and is willing to put that belief on the line. He also knows what he intends to do and why. He doesn't hesitate because he understands his situation exactly. The magician can focus, listen, with single minded determination as long as he remembers the divine source of his power. Brothers, what is the divine source of your power? Are we hesitating?
The rod, right?
No,
Or the melanin?
no. Where did you come from physically?
The woman, the woman, the
You got
woman, the
everything
sister.
from the feminine, from the divine feminine. She is the
Absolutely.
divine source of all power. And now see, it is the mitochondria DNA in the mother that the father does not have that
Wow.
determines everything. This is why the symbolism of the Virgin Mother is so prominent. You all with me?
Yeah.
The magician can focus with single-minded determination as long as he remembers the divine source of his power. The magician remains the perfect conduit for miracles. The perfect conduit for miracles. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it his brother, and they hated him yet the more. And he said to them, Hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose and also stood upright. And behold, your sheaves stood round about and made obeisance, that is, bowed to my sheaf. So we understand that the sheaf, the upright sheaf, is the final noon. The bent sheaf is the medial noon. And it all goes into forming the word noon, which is related to the primal creative waters or the feminine energy. That is the source of all things. So in here, Joseph is relating that his sheaf or his rod rose up and stood upright. Exodus 4:2. Now we're getting ready to make this connection with the rod of Moses and Aaron. And the Lord said unto him, What is that in thine hand? And he said, A rod. That word rod is the word mate. It's the word mate. And it means staff, which it was Moses' staff. It means shaft. Also, it means the branch of a vine or a tree. And it also means tribe. So it's talking about a reproductive element. A reproductive element or a man's phallus. The ancient term for a man's phallus is a word called linga. Write that down. Or lingam, L-I-N-G-A, L-I-N-G-A-M, L-I-N-G-A, L-I-N-G-A-M. And again, this is all referring to the reproductive organ or the reproductive power or the reproductive energy of the male element, of the masculine element. And we see here that it is not a source of life, as is the feminine element. It is a support of life.
It's 1 o'clock.
Are we clear?
Yes, we're clear.
Hey,
So we want to look, because of the similarity in the pose, one hand raised to the heavens, the other hand pointing downward. The magician and the Baphomet represent the same thing. When you look between the legs of the Baphomet, you see the upright sheath or the rod or the shaft, Nasik, the straight path.
Yeah.
All right? With what? The same representations of the snakes round about. Thus, the Baphomet symbolizes the union of opposites, male and female energetic principles and elements. As represented in the image drawn by black magic practitioner Eliphas Levi, probably wasn't no real person. Look at the last name, Levi, all right? We're talking about Leviathan or Levi-Tanniyn. There is the image of a light moon and a dark moon. The position of its hands is also in opposite directions, just as in the Magician Tarot card. As above, so below. All these sayings and symbols point to what is known as the secret doctrine. So write that down.
Secret doctrine.
Right. All the secret doctrine is referring to is the union of opposites. The divine union of opposites that connects us to our divinity. And all of our divine powers. The secret doctrine, which is the union of the gods with humanity, the fusion of the sacred feminine and the divine masculine. I should put that down. Divine masculine is nothing more than the desire on the part of occultists to return, for the return of the gods to earth. Now, who do you think that is? That's us. To once again, what? Mate with human women. So now these are the aberrant, this is the aberrant man. Family, that's the only way they're going to survive. in the end time. You all with me?
Okay.
They gotta get this melanin some way. That's the only way they're gonna survive. So this is why they put it like that. But the higher concept is the interaction and union of opposites, of divine sacred opposites. All right? The unity of the divine sisterhood and the divine brotherhood. So again, this is why we requested that the sisters what? Start blessing themselves. Start blessing their immediate family. Start to utilize this power with what? With confidence. And that they start blessing individuals that are involved in this process, or even that they wish to be involved in the process. So this is this dynamic interaction that what? Creates an energetic vortex. In the book of Exodus, the 4th chapter, it states, "And Yahuwah said unto Moses, What is that in thine hand? And he said, A rod." Now we understand that that's the word mate, mate. And he said, Cast it to the ground. And he cast it to the ground, and it became a Nahash serpent. And Moses fled from before it. So it became a Nahash in this sense, in this passage. And that's going to be very important because they're going to use a different word in a subsequent chapter. In the context of the passage above, Moses is given this instruction because he must confront the Pharaoh. Allegorically, listen, Pharaoh represents our ego. We can ready to make it plain now. So confronted with this considerably problematic task, Moses is recorded as declaring, I can't do it. What am I going to do? I am just a human. What am I going to do to the Pharaoh? This is why God, that is the higher self, counsels, if you take your rod, staff, branch, or tribe, you will become a serpent. This Nakash represents Kundalini power. The serpent represents Kundalini power. You're not going to be able to confront the ego successfully unless what? You energize yourself. You energize these centers of power. We're doing that because we said that these symbols, what? Correspond. Each of the symbols correspond to these power centers or energetic centers in you. As you become more familiar with them, it begins to what? Activate these things that are within. We clear. It also represents the power of Shekinah. That is the sacred feminine, the divine mother, which rises in the spinal column and gives the inspiration, intuition, and the power to the prophet or the guesser or the prognosticator or the fortune teller or the worker of miracles. Note, the adept master has the learned ability to raise the sexual energy, that is the male sexual energy, or chi, of the spermatozoon up the spine as well. This is a technique that brothers need to learn and familiarize themselves with. Learn how to raise male sexual energy that is located in the spermatozoon up the spine as well. You all with me?
Mm-hmm.
But when Moses and his brother go to Pharaoh in the 7th chapter, remember we read from the 4th chapter. However, when Moses and his brother go to the Pharaoh in the 7th chapter and he throws the rod, it does not become Nakash or a serpent. It says in Hebrew, when Pharaoh shall speak unto you, saying, shew a miracle for you, then thou shalt say unto Aaron, take thy rod and cast it before Pharaoh, and it shall become not a Nachash, in this case, a Tannin. A Tannin. Again, carefully note that the above passage does not say that Moses' rod will become a Nakash, serpent, but it says it will become a Tannin. It is in this passage that the majority of the so-called scholars have made the erroneous assumption that Nachash and Tannin are the same thing. They most definitely are not. Consequently, they postulate that Tannin must be a type of serpent, because a couple of chapters prior to it now, it stated that the rod would become a Nakash or a serpent. So again, the assumption is made that Tannin and Nakash are synonymous. Now, although the two words, actually two concepts, are comparable, at the same time, they are totally different. Why? Because of their word construction. And this is something that we've been paying particular attention to, have we not? Primarily, the letter Tav at the beginning of the word Tanin, and also the two noons that contain the Yud. Tanin is something more than Nachash. We're going to find out it's a step up. Moses, an adept master magician in the scripture narrative, is also a symbol of the Sephirah Teferet, conscious willpower. Now, you wrote the word will down, write the word conscious, the phrase rather, conscious willpower down. This is going to be very important as we access and manifest this energy within, this aspect of conscious willpower. The way I phrase it is conscious, deliberate creation, conscious, deliberate manifestation, where you start off and say, this is what's going to happen. And let me ask you, what is the proof of a prophet or a seer? That what he says happens exactly as he said it. Conscious, deliberate creation, utilizing willpower. As a man thinketh, all right? Power of life and death in the tongue. Within the context of the biblical narrative, we observe God, that is the higher self, calling, counseling, instructing, and eventually guiding the human soul, which is Moses, as he works to free Israel, our consciousness, from Mitzrayim, or Egypt, an enclosed, fortified, defended fortress. And it is defended by the ego. Moses is that male child that came forth from the waters of Noon, or the divine sacred feminine. Though undeveloped to varying degrees, each of us has the inherent divine power and ability of Moses. And we all must play the role that Moses played in liberating our consciousness from what? The bondage and servitude of ego, which is represented by Egypt or Mitzrayim. So when we look again at the Baphomet, and we're going to look at and compare it above, in these images, we see the phallic symbol. Now this is talking about the raising or activating of the male to female, or masculine to female energy. And we see the sheath or the rod or the shaft, the serpent, that power being raised.
And the yoni.
We all clear?
That's the rod and the yoni?
Huh?
Is that the rod and the yoni?
That's the rod and the yoni combined. This is what's called the secret doctrine, the divine union of opposites. And again, it is not simply talking about physical sex or reproduction or copulation like that, although that is a part of it. But we must start with the energetic understanding of it first. And once we understand the energy, then we'll understand how to physically unite.
And that's what I want to understand, the energy part of it.
Absolutely. This is what
and the other part is the allure part of the energy. I want to understand the higher part of it. The energy is the higher part.
Correct. Always. Mm-hmm. So when we look at the Baphomet as it is represented, we start at the bottom and we see the Lamed, the Vav, as we go clockwise, Tav, Noon, and Noon Sophit. Again, Lamed, Vav, Tav, Yud, Yud, not Noon, Yud, and Noon Sophit. So it spells the word Leviathan, or Levi-Tanniyn. It is written Levi-Tanniyn, Lamed, Vav, Yud, Tav, and Nun Sophit, or Lvitn, Leviathan. Thus the word Levi-Tanniyn, or Leviathan, unites, syncretizes, combines the tribe or rod of Levi with the great mysterious creature of the waters, the noon, the fish, the yoni, etc., the divine union of opposites. Furthermore, Moses was a child of Levi, from the tribe that is Rod of Levi. Few people realize that Moses has another name, Levi-Tanniyn. When you syncretize or combine the word Levi, excuse me, let me correct this real quick while I'm at it. When you syncretize or combine the word Levi with the word Tannin, or so-called serpent, you get the word, again, Levi-Tanniyn or Leviathan. And we've already taken a look at the Baphomet. This is Moses. The Zohar says, and you, Moses, support yourself by your sage's statement more than all of them, since you are the Levi-Tanniyn or Leviathan of the sea of the Torah. For the master of all fishes is called Leviathan. Leviathan is Moshe or Moses. This is why in the Kabbalah, Moses is called the great fish. So now we're seeing more and more of these symbols coming to fore. All right. Where else do we see the great fish? In the story of what? Yonah. What does that sound like? Yonah.
Yanni.
It sounds like the Yoni. Yonah. Yonah. Yoni. Inside the great fish for how long?
It's 3 days.
3 trimesters. 3 trimesters.
Wow, that's Eitai. That's too much.
When he was ready, Nasik, to do his job, the fish what? Expelled him out. And he went and did what? Accomplished the will of his higher self.
He was born.
He was born again.
Wow,
oh wow.
That's awesome. There, that's awesome.
That is awesome.
Eitai, I think this portion right here, you've covered a lot, and I think we need to, bring this to an end, and you got to go back over this, because this is in another realm here.
Correct. I'm in perfect agreement.
This is in another realm here. We got to get this.
Right.
Because this holds the key to going forward.
I see. This is the foundation for creating galaxies and solar systems. This is it. But we got it.
We got it. I mean, I'm just want us to think about what has been said here today. This is a lot has been covered in a short time, but I mean, when it's put together and understood, you're talking about power packed.
Absolutely.
In the energetic realm, this is brilliant.
So, family, what I'll do is I'll continue. Hey, Nasik. This stuff is coming daily.
Yeah, I understand.
So what we're doing, family, is once we get it, we're giving it right to you. Yeah. And so allow us to amend it and put it in its perfect form. And this is what I'll do between now and tomorrow. And
that'd be great.
We'll make the recording available ASAP, but you will get the notes. All All right. Allow me to just amend it and go forward. Something that the ancestors wanted me to point out, Nasik.
Okay.
The name Aaron or Aharone in this narrative. Now remember, Moses didn't want to go to Pharaoh. Came up all kind of excuses.
That's right.
And who came alongside of him?
His brother.
Aharone, right?
Game.
The ancestors are saying, don't let that sneak by you real quick. Are y'all with me?
Aharone came out came through as his
I want
mouthpiece.
y'all to meditate on that. Do not see, we think certain things are coincidences. I'm telling you, they are not. When we understand the foresight of our ancestors, we are going to begin to what? See ourselves in the scriptures. Look carefully. Look carefully.
We're gonna see ourselves as what?
You're going to see yourselves in the scriptures.
Okay.
Do not ignore this name Aharone. Don't ignore it. It's not mere coincidence for us gathered here today. I'm going to let y'all think about that.